Hello, everybody. It's Walter, your favorite historian, educator, professor, social studies extraordinaire, and blue-collar scholar. Today's date is December 6, 2025. This video is entitled, "The Supreme Court Upholds Texas's Map." So recently, the Supreme Court of the United States, in an unsigned emergency order, upheld the legitimacy of Texas's recent redrawing of their state congressional districts. Okay, the unsigned order essentially affirmed the principles that to hold the map unconstitutional at this stage of the game would throw the state election system into chaos, because candidacy has already been filed for these new districts, campaigns have begun, so forth and so on. Also, in accepting the legitimacy of the maps, the court has implied that it has bought Texas's arguments that the maps are not in any way committing any unlawful racial gerrymandering, but instead are drawn solely for the purposes of giving politically advantageous position to the state Republican Party. Fine, granted. So nobody here is surprised or in any way, shape, or form taken aback with the court upholding Texas's map. After all, the court is dominated by conservatives. The Republicans have engaged in a deliberate strategy of power grabbing before the 2026 midterms. Of course, Texas was the first battlefield on this unlikely long war. But I want to add also that the court's order here was just that. It's an unsigned emergency order, not an official opinion on the merits that were contained therein. Okay, so that's likely going to be saved for another day. And, my personal thoughts on the matter, fine. Okay, you know very well I am no Republican. Frankly, their undisguised attempt at a power grab is, at the very least, humorous, but at the worst, it's nothing short of tyrannical. But in spite of that, I'm actually pleased with the court's decision, and I'll explain why here. First of all, energy automatically provokes other energy. With Texas's decision to redraw their map, of course, you all know that California decided to match energy and redraw theirs as well, okay? With the Supreme Court affirming Texas's map, there is very little that they could say to make any form of legal differential between Texas's map and California's map. In other words, by upholding Texas's map, and under the same logic and guidelines, they have virtually no choice but to also uphold California's should theirs make it to the Supreme Court, which is highly likely given the fact that the Department of Justice has filed a lawsuit against California's redrawing of their congressional districts, naming the governor and secretary of state as defendants. The lawsuit charges that California is willfully and knowingly engaged in unlawful racial gerrymandering prohibited by the VRA of 1965 and the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. So Texas, in spite of doing the same exact thing first, okay, did not engage in any deliberate over-reliance on race in redrawing their districts, but California did. Okay. The only differential here, ladies and gentlemen, is the party in play. In Texas, of course, the advantageous winner here are the Republicans, whereas in California, Democrats. Now, the Department of Justice obviously is not holding back in any way, shape, or form in showing their deliberate partisanism here in waging war against California, but allowing Texas to essentially do the same thing without any obstruction whatsoever. Nobody is surprised at this either. But the positive effect of all of it, again, is that should California's maps go to the Supreme Court, California simply doing the same thing Texas is doing, redrawing their districts to give an advantage to the predominant party in that state, the Democrats, versus Texas, where it was the Republicans. The court will really have no type of legal logic to suggest that California's was not legitimate, okay? California didn't do any more or have any greater emphasis on race in redrawing their maps than Texas did. Not at all, okay? And the Department of Justice's lawsuit is a crock of shit. I'll just be honest with you. But I will say also that should California's map go to the Supreme Court, don't put it past the conservative majority to find some sort of false legal differential to strike down California's map, all the while affirming Texas's. Again, the only difference being the parties in play: Texas Republicans, California Democrats. I have been studying law and doing legal writing research for a lot of years now. I know very well how to read the Supreme Court's mind and read judicial opinions. And I can tell you firsthand, they are known for creating false legal differentials in many situations that do not exist, okay? The only difference between this car and that car is that that car is green and that car is blue. That's the only difference. It's still a Toyota Camry. It's no difference whatsoever, okay? So I'm glad that Texas prevailed, because essentially now the blue states in matching Texas energy will also likely prevail should their maps wind up at the Supreme Court. So I just wanted to make that known to you all. Now I have to give my personal thoughts. What kills me with all of this, okay, is that Texas, okay, started this war. And blue states, beginning with California and soon to also likely be Maryland and New York and Illinois and others, are responding. They are matching energy, which is exactly what the hell they ought to be doing, okay? The Republicans right now seem to be of the mindset that, you know, they can behave like schoolyard bullies and push you on the ground and you just supposed to run away crying. Nah, you got us messed up, real messed up, okay? And I'm glad that blue state governors, especially Newsom and Moore and Pritzker, have matched Texas's energy, as well as the energy of other red states that have been motivated to redraw their districts, like Missouri and Indiana, to wipe out the Democratic members of Congress in their congressional delegations. Okay, and I don't see anything wrong with it personally in the Democrats matching their energy. The Republicans cannot expect to start a war and have the other side not finish it. Because believe me, the Democratic states are going to finish it. They're going to do whatever they can to equalize and or neutralize the situation brought about by Texas. The Republicans are behaving like, again, schoolyard bullies. Okay? And I guess in their minds, you're just supposed to accept being shoved on the ground and not get up and bang that bully in the eye. Okay? Where I come from, what I was taught, you get shoved, you get pushed, you hit back 2 times as hard as you were hit. Okay? You destabilize if you have to. But under no circumstance do you just allow yourself to be run roughshod over. The consequences arising from that will be far worse than any form of retaliation that you engage in against the bully. There are certain situations in life where shit has to be checked right then and there. And if you don't, the opportunity is gone forever. Sometimes you may be blessed with subsequent opportunities to nip that crap in the bud, but it's rare. Life presents you with situations where you have to demonstrate to the aggressor right here, right now, that we're not going for that bull crap. And the aggressor knows from then on you're not the one. However, if they do something and you don't say anything, you don't do anything, you don't respond, you just let them walk all over you, that is nothing but appeasement. And you will suffer far more in the long term than what you ever would have possibly done had you checked it right then and there. I speak from personal experience. You can't let everything go. Some stuff has to be checked right here, right now. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter, so leave them in the comments below and I'll be happy to engage. Take care of yourselves, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you at the next video. Professor Shelton, the Blue Collar Scholar, out.